and welcome to the Superintendent Effect. I'm Ann Brown, President and CEO of the Cook Center for Human Connection, and today I am so excited to be joined by Dr. Justin Henry, the Superintendent of Goddard Public Schools, number 265 in Kansas. Welcome. Tell me about Kansas and what's happening in your district lately.
Uh, the thing that's happening where you are is it doesn't snow in Kansas this early, so we're still pretty dry and relatively warm. As far as education in Kansas, a lot of great things taking place. We have a variety of things going on in our district as we're heading towards the end of the first semester and statewide. I think one of the things that many people that haven't visited Kansas previously don't understand is the quality of the schools, starting at the state level and through the local level. There's always been a commitment not only to have strong public schools, but strong public schools in every part of the state. And sometimes in different parts of the United States, you don't see that. So I think my message to those that haven't been to Kansas that are educators, you should come visit because there's some amazing schools.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because I've actually visited some schools in Kansas and they are amazing. And I've visited everything from a pre-K all the way up to a high school. And I've just seen, I don't think I've been to Goddard specifically, but just
You've been
really,
close, I think, because I think you've flown into Wichita, and that's where our airport starts. I think you've been close to our district.
I have been close to your district, but I haven't visited, but someday I will. That would be fun. But I have seen a lot of innovation in Kansas. So I would tend to agree with you. I was in a pre-K that was near Kansas City, I think. And what they were doing to support the whole family was amazing. And then I've been to a CAPS program, and I know many of you have a CAPS program. A program for advanced Center for Advanced Professional Studies to give kids real life experiences while they're in schools. Do you guys have one of those?
We don't have a standalone facility. In the last 10 or 15 years, we've went from just having a handful of career pathways to now 15.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's really to give each student the opportunity, not necessarily to determine what do I want to be when I grow up, but maybe more importantly, finding out this isn't what I want to be when I grow up. So a lot of times when we talk about our career pathways or the opportunities we give our secondary students, I think it's just important to note that it's not about giving you the quote pathway to the rest of your life. It's giving you more opportunities to experience and interact and really see that, well, I think I want to be a doctor. And then maybe you go through some of our biomed classes and you find out, I don't like any of this. So probably a good thing that most parents would appreciate that we're helping students understand what they may or may not want to be while they're still in high school versus their third or fourth year in college when they decide to change majors. So
Yeah.
it's a financial incentive for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point to be able. And the other thing is the world's changing so quickly for kids that I bet some of those career pathways are things that kids didn't even know existed and perhaps parents have never known existed as far as a career goes because the world's changed so much that jobs are different. And so giving kids an opportunity to explore something that maybe wasn't at their dinner table all night is important as well.
We're a K-12 Project Lead the Way district. So
Oh,
starting with our kindergartners, they get specific Project Lead the Way curriculum all the way up to being a senior in high school, if that's what they choose. And even thinking about STEM,
uh-huh.
likely what people assumed or thought about STEM 10 years ago is different than the classes and the opportunities that kids are taking today because of how quick everything is changing. So what maybe was thought of as cutting edge, that's probably not what we're offering today. It's probably something totally different than what a parent thought it was.
Yeah, that's now cutting edge in a new way, right? Like, what do you think your most unique of your 15 pathways would be?
Well, I don't know about most unique. I think in general, it's just trying to find opportunities for each kid. So maybe their version of unique. You
Yeah.
have some that are programs that we work through Wichita State that are more tech related as far as maybe welding or automotive that some may not think that's cutting edge until you get inside our auto shop and see all the technology that's being utilized for a student that's going out into that workforce. So what one person may think isn't unique to another would be very unique.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've seen the goggles that mechanic students use that they can see all the parts and it labels through some VR goggles or something. I don't know. I don't know what kind of things you guys are using, but there's amazing technology in every aspect of the workforce these days. So getting able to experience things in high school.
And then you start thinking about when adults have conversations about AI and maybe what a 14-year-old thinks about is AI, probably two different conversations. So we get a bunch of group adults in a room and think about, well, how's AI impacting education? We're looking through our lens. Likely what a student is thinking about is not the same as us because they're using it in ways we couldn't even imagine. So when we're having these conversations about technology and planning for the future, probably real important for all schools to have a student voice and not adults that think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Well, tell me about you. What was your path to the superintendency?
It was either direct or not direct, depending on how you look at it.
Oh,
So the direct version is I taught chemistry and physics for 3 years. Then I was an assistant principal at the same high school for 3 years. Then I moved into principalship for 3 years. I then took my first superintendency in a rural district in Kansas for 4 years. And then I've been in Goddard now for 15. So that's the direct, well laid out path. The other version is between graduating from college and taking my first teaching job, I decided to go to pharmacy school for a year. Almost had a detour into a totally different career pathway, but then came back to teach after going to pharmacy school.
well, you just think about how many kids you've impacted. That was a lucky move for a lot of children. So it seems like it would be really impactful to be able to be in a district 15 years. I was just doing some research on this specifically, and nationally, it's about 2.7 years is the average length of time in a superintendent seat in a certain district. And if you compare that to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, it's about 7.5 years. And now you're double that of a Fortune 500 CEO. So that must really give you the ability to have seen some great growth and had some real impact. So can you point to any of those things and why that longevity is so important?
So while it looks like or sounds like I've been here a long time, the two people before me were here 15 and 20 years also.
Oh, wow.
I'm the third superintendent in Goddard in the last 50 years, which, to your point, definitely is different than the average superintendency tenure. And definitely when you think about our district and that it is one of the fastest growing in Kansas and has been for the last 3 decades. So while there's been change in our district, having similar leadership throughout 50 years and only handing that baton off twice, I think has been unique. And when people ask us about that, I would point back to board leadership. Many times people don't think about their local school board until there's something that maybe they don't agree with and they want to find out who's on the board and how do I talk to them. But when you think about who can really impact your life, it's those that are elected at the local level. And maybe that doesn't get the attention that national elections get at times. But for a district that is rapidly changing as far as growth, to have stability and leadership, I think absolutely from a superintendent standpoint starts with the board. And it's not that the same board members that hired me 15 years ago are still on the board. Some of them are, but most of them that serve multiple terms.
Hmm.
And when you have board members that are invested in the overall culture and focus of the district, and they can hand that off to the next generation of leaders, I think that works so much better for a district. And when you look at districts where there may be chaos or instability in leadership, if you go back and look at the board level, likely they don't have that continuity. But when you have community volunteers that are willing to not only run for office, which is difficult, but
Yeah.
then dedicate the time to serve. I think that's the beauty of public schools, and it's been one of our keys to success.
Yeah. Well, to your point, having that hyper local focus when you think politically, that's really what's going to have an impact in your life and impact, more importantly, your children's lives. So, what I love about the seat of the superintendency is the impact you have on the community at large. And not everybody even understands, you as the superintendent really have a reach into almost every family in your district. And especially if you've been there for 15 years, even the ones who have gone on and graduated. Now you've probably got some kids coming through that who were seniors 15 years ago. And so, on the next generation.
It was a little bit eye-opening this year because my daughter's a senior in college.
Uh-huh.
And this year, when we were doing our new teacher orientation, there were two girls that graduated the same year she did. So when we came here, she was a second grader.
Oh,
And
wow.
now we have teachers in our district that are same exact age as my daughter, that it's hard to imagine her being old enough to teach a classroom of kids. But yeah, things
Yeah.
change quickly.
Those sweet little second graders are now teaching. That's
Uh-huh.
amazing. Are they high school teachers or elementary teachers or what?
Elementary.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little easier to think about, but there are 22-year-olds that come out, probably you as a chemistry teacher. that come
Sure.
right out and
Especially now with most of our high school students are graduating with anywhere from 30 to 40 college credits.
yeah, so they could
So
be
if
on
you're
two
going
years.
into education, you're basically starting as a sophomore, and then you throw in your semester or year, depending on your program of student teaching, you can finish in 3 years.
Yeah, wow, absolutely you can. So you could be 21 and walking into a classroom of 18-year-olds.
Yeah, becomes pretty unique.
Well, it does, but and especially in your home district, that would be a great experience, I think, for everybody to see that. I know part of how we met through the Cook Center was because of mental health. Tell me about the mental health journey going on in your district right now.
Sure. Like most districts, it probably became more of a glorified topic during the pandemic, and maybe it should have before. So, for all of the challenges everyone navigated during the pandemic, there's absolutely some aspects that I think benefited public schools. And one of those is the focus on mental health, and maybe even for our students becoming more comfortable talking about their own mental health. I'm not sure 10 or 15 years ago our students were quite as open as they are today talking about that. And it's probably because of the attention that came out of the pandemic and national stories about mental health and well-being. So that's really where we started to dig in and trying to think about, and we still do, and we still struggle with this. I think most public schools do, but there aren't enough services
Hmm.
maybe anywhere for students. And you think about mental health supports in a community, at least in Kansas, a lot of times that falls to a county level. There's enough adult issues and supports that they're putting their dollars towards those programs. So when you think about the support students need, whether or not it should or shouldn't, it falls back to schools.
Right.
The beauty of public schools is your goal is how do you support every student? And when you think about that, in our case, across 6,500 students, that looks unique for everyone, but trying to create a safe place where each student feels like they belong, that impacts academics. So when we think about supporting mental health, part of that conversation to me is that's not outside the realm of what schools should be focusing on because our students have to feel connected and safe before they're going to learn. And if
Yeah.
I'm struggling with my own well-being, I can't learn.
Yeah. Well, we always find a great quote in here, and I think what you just said is really important. For kids to be able to learn, they've got to feel connected and safe. I mean, that's just such an important idea. And part of that is helping the adults who surround the student feel that connection and empowerment to be able to talk about mental health, talk with the kids about mental health, but then also take care of their own. I know one of the things that you guys are looking at or implementing soon is called staff guidance. So tell us how you hope this will benefit your staff.
I think in general, the focus is how does it impact everyone? So thinking about parent guidance and then staff guidance and working in conjunction, the aha moments for me are when we're working with parents that have access to resources and they feel lost and they don't know what the next step is, then you think about the situations where a parent maybe doesn't have access to the same resources and what that struggle looks like. So that's what led us to the parentguidance.org and then thinking about how our staff members come to us sounding similar to a parent. I don't know how to help this child or not feeling comfortable giving them the training or at least the support so they feel like you don't have to be an expert, but at least giving them the tools that they feel supported in their own mental health journey and then in turn can help support students and families.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. I always talk about when a family comes into a staff member and says, and a lot of districts do this. They have like a TLC, a take extra care kind of thing for a student because maybe they've had something traumatic happen in their family, or maybe they're experiencing some severe anxiety or depression or something, and those can just almost become like bricks on the shoulders of those who are helping those students, and to be able to say, hey, you know what, there's a course for that, or here's somewhere I can ask for support, through the staff guidance that can help both of them. So tell me about some other things in your district that you're just really proud of, maybe a new program or just something you're proud of from your whole 15 years, like maybe your proudest thing ever or something great for this year.
I don't know about proudest ever, but I think in general, if I was to answer the question of what makes Goddard unique or over the course of your time here, what would be one thing you would point to? And I think it's our staff. And when we think about staff, it's across the board. For schools, typically you default to your teaching staff, and that's who's in front of our kids. And that's the most important aspect of any school district. And in our case, we're blessed and lucky and very focused and strategic in how we do this, but our turnover is low. We approach recruiting teachers just like a professional sports team does. We want to build a relationship with those students their first or second year in college, then we want to get them on our campus. And then we want to continue that relationship with them through student teaching. And then we'll hire a good number of teachers in the fall, 10 or 12 months before they're actually ever going to teach for us, so that we're not out in the spring competing against others. So there's that aspect. But then we think about our support staff, starting with the bus drivers that pick the kids up at 6 o'clock in the morning and then take them home at 6 o'clock at night, and everybody in between that impacts a student on that day. That's the power. And when it starts at the board, as I talked about previously, when they understand the value and support of that entire staffing across the system, I think that's where you truly make a difference. And too often we focus on the negative. When someone gets upset with a staff member, or there's a national news story that staff member X, Y, and Z did A, B, and C, that becomes the story. But we're not good about talking about the thousands of staff members in every school district across the United States that go above and beyond, doing things that most people would never even think of in a normal day
Yeah.
to impact kids. So I think that's what we try to focus on. And if I was going to point to one thing that, what do you feel like has made a difference? It's been our continuous approach to making sure that anytime throughout the day, we have the best possible adults working with our kids.
I love that. Most people that are working with children, I'd say 99.999% of people who are working with children are doing it because they really love children and want what's best for them. And people who go into education are thinking, I really want to make a difference in a kid's life. And for you, like when you said that about we recruit teachers like a professional sports team, I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that system, right? Who wouldn't want to be valued in that way? And I love that idea of making your staff feel like that. Like you are one in a million that we've brought in to be with Goddard. Tell me about Goddard as a district. We haven't really talked about size or anything, any of the basics of it. Tell me about that a little bit.
So suburban Wichita, as I referenced earlier, if you fly into Wichita, you're at the eastern edge of our district. So we start at the Wichita airport and then go 8 miles west. About 70% of our students served have a Wichita address, and the other 30% have a Goddard address. Projected to grow another couple thousand kids over the next decade or so. So a lot of building and a lot of subdivisions taking off throughout the district. I would consider it for Kansas a pretty unique place because it is growing, and a lot of school districts are either declining enrollment or doing the best they can to keep a stable enrollment trend.
How many students total?
6,500.
Okay. So it's 2,000 on 6,500. That's significant growth.
It's hard to know if we'll get there. I mean, eventually we'll. We just bought some land last year to hopefully expand to another campus whenever they need it, because if you wait until you're landlocked, not that it wasn't expensive before, but trying to be a little bit proactive and plan for the future, because a lot of our teachers have retired in the last few years. Were here when the district was only 2,000 kids. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems like a blink of the eye to them. It was 30 years. Trying to be prepared if you're working in a growing district. And I think a majority of the families that end up in our district are coming here for the services through the school district. So the more we can be out in front of them and trying to partner from pre-K through high school and beyond, the better the experience is for everyone.
I'm glad you're thinking ahead. And a big industry for you guys is aviation, right? In Wichita. I don't know
It
if people know that in the world, but you're kind of the center for private aviation manufacturing or distribution or something of airplanes. Is that right?
Manufacturing. Yeah. So when people fly in and they hear the announcement, you're flying into the air capital of the world, and then they see our regional airport, they maybe don't quite understand that. But yeah, a lot of the aviation advances throughout the United States and the world really started in the Wichita area.
Yeah. Is that some of your career pathway? Is some of the aviation pathways?
Definitely so,
Good.
especially when we're partnering with Wichita State and some of their programs.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. So tell us something about you that people don't know, something about you personally that people don't know.
Some people know this. So 4 or 5 years ago, I started a leadership app, and the focus was because the one advantage superintendents have over principals is your schedule is slightly different. When you're a principal, you may walk in thinking you have a list of 3 or 4 things you're going to get done that day, but 5 minutes into the day, that list doesn't exist anymore. Or if it does, it's not till 12 hours later. So like most districts, we give our principals a book to read, and they read it during their month off in the summer. They come back in August. We do a great job with our book study, maybe a little bit, not quite as much in September. And then by October, out of sight, out of mind, they're probably not reading the book. So my idea was, how do you create an app that would just pop up a few times a week with a short passage from a book and then a leadership action step? So I went in one day and told my wife, "Hey, I'm going to make this leadership app," and kind of like your response right there. Oh, okay. And but then I went and researched, how do you work with companies to make an app? And long story short, we found one, we worked with them, and for 2 or 3 years we had the app. That got hard to maintain just because the change in technology, and I'm not an app guy, so I can't do the work. But we changed it over to a newsletter. And what I found out was a newsletter coming once a month or once a week at 7 in the morning to a principal's inbox. There was a higher usage than the app. Stopped with the app, and now we do a monthly or weekly newsletter, Light on Leadership. You can go search Light on Leadership newsletter and see 7 pages of back editions, but it's really simple. It's a leadership lesson from a book we're reading that can range from trust to dealing with adversity and everything in between. Then typically I find a short video to go with it, and then maybe a couple leadership quotes, and then a book recommendation and a link if they want to purchase the book. And I would say that we're doing it free of charge, but it's worse than that. We do it and lose money, but I think
You're
it's worth
helping all over.
it. It's my give back, I guess is how I would frame it. Taking a few minutes just to read a passage, which sounds so simple, I think can give people so much clarity. And when you think of the work of educators and especially principals leading schools, if there's a passage they can read on a Tuesday morning that maybe on a Friday afternoon gives them a moment to pause before making a decision,
Hmm.
and in turn impacts a student or their family in a positive way, then it's absolutely worth it. So it's not too involved. It takes me probably an hour each weekend to create the passage, and most of the passages I've done in advance. Find a short video, and then either somebody's tweet about the topic or a famous quote that helps you give a little bit of pause and reflection to what leadership's really about.
Well, I can't wait. I'm going to look for it. Is it light, like Light? Light?
LIG, LIGHT, Light on Leadership. So we've put in a lot of time in creating the Light on Leadership, formerly app, now a newsletter.
Well, that's, just a really interesting transition because to your point, and I can see why a newsletter would be more effective than an app because an app you'd have to remind them and then they'd have to go to the app. But this is like you click on it, it's there, it's a page, it's simple. I love it. I'm gonna become a subscriber, Justin. All right. Well, Justin, I think Goddard is very lucky to have you being a strong leader, building their strong community. And I just really want to thank you for being on our podcast today. And I hope a lot of people listen and a lot of people go to Light on Leadership. So,
Thank you guys for what you do. I think your support and your focus on helping families and helping staff, that's pretty unique and it's needed.
well, thank you. We're very proud of the work and very proud of our partnerships with you and others. Thank you. And I will see you soon out in the world somewhere.